Is there a reason you're talking about my opinions before? Are you done with yours yet?
No, what I'm saying is because they relate. You came to the conclusion quicker, but ultimately for me, when that moment happened with Silco, I was like, okay. Now, granted, it's at the end of the show, so I'm like,
but see, again, I think you're right in saying that it does. Well, if you're a cognizant viewer, I don't quite get how anyone could maintain his villain. I mean, villainy in that.
That's pure and simple. That's all it was.
Well, I'm saying I can't imagine how anyone else does now. That is the end, I can't see how it wouldn't retroactively change your. Whereas to me, it was predictive. Where I'm going, I see the threads they've been laying of his undercurrent of non-villainy, and I was afraid they were going to pull a house and just go, nope, he's the villain. He started as the villain. We're going to take him back to villain, and all that growth is meaningless.
If I can.
So it was more of an affirmation of going, I wanted this to happen, and I'm glad they did it, rather than it changes my perspective.
At the risk of...
You're going.
At the risk of making it a little less... It's going to upset a particular fan base.
It's going to... Well, of course...
Is that if you can compare it to Star Wars a little bit...
You're going to steal my narrative.
The idea that...
I shared this with you in good faith.
I'm not stealing your narrative. I am...
There's a video essay I'm never going to make.
No, it's not that.
I've already written the script.
You need to calm down, because I'm not stealing anything about your thunder. It's... The new Star Wars are very controversial and not widely liked.
And not good.
Sure, but one of the things that they particularly bring out is, and I think Luke specifically, is the idea of the gray path. The idea that you can be...
If that's what they were going with, they cacked it up a wall.
Well, that's true. They did,
because they already did that with Ahsoka. Essentially, Ahsoka's the grayest Jedi.
Not a lot of people know about Ahsoka, though.
Well,
didn't watch
because the people who watch the new Star Wars are not Star Wars.
Well, I agree, 100%.
Star Wars fans know about Ahsoka,
but
I don't even like Rebels, and I know about Ahsoka's gray Jedi arc.
So gray, I think, is very much what Silco is. He's neither a villain nor
the whole show is
purely
gray.
Human.
Well, everyone in the show is, and that's
and
why
at that point, and we actually made this comment because at the end of the show, I realized, and it occurred to me, where is that guy?
Well, I don't know. You didn't even bother to check before you started walking. Well, he knows where you are now. Okay, that guy's got a shotgun. I want it. He just blasted your augmented face across the
wall.
Floor. Who knows what happens to an augmented face?
Well, I mean, I imagine it remains augmented. It's just on the floor, like blinking.
It augments the floor.
It's that I had to remove, and this, I think, here's where the dichotomy probably was easier for you than it was for me. I had to remove ethics from this show. Really.
Well, you do have, yeah.
Because you have to, not entirely,
you want to be careful because it's not ethics,
ethics.
It's ideology, I think is the better way of putting it.
I had to,
you
I
can't
had to remove
trust
global ideology.
Yeah, you can't trust
there is no
stated values because they don't line up in the show.
Not only that, but there is no consistent group ideology. This social constructs are very fast and loose in this culture, which makes sense.
I don't think it's right to say you ignore the ethics because I think that ethics is what is present. I'm not sure what the other term I'm looking for. I think it's ideology because ultimately it's what is ethics is moral weight of action. Ideology is just what people say and think. And the problem, it's not a problem. The thing that's great about this show is, unlike almost anything I've ever watched, no one's ideology really is enacted truly. And that's so the ethics and the ideology are at odds.
Well, and I would say
that's what makes it interesting.
Here's what I mean by throwing out ethics. Murder. So let me say it this way. If you were to ask anyone on the street, murder is wrong.
That's an ethical question.
Yes, it is.
And even the question of what makes murder okay is an ethical question.
Correct.
So you're not throwing out ethics. You're throwing out.
But what it does is
established morality. Let's call it.
That's what I was meaning. Global. That's what.
Okay, but again, ethics is literally just the philosophy of moral action.
So what I'm saying is
moral ideology. Let's call it that.
Within dystopian society, what you have to recognize is it's a bit of a war zone in that.
I forget. I can never. It makes no sense that I can't be on that side of the pole for 3 seconds. They literally see me instantly.
What it forces you to do is basically put everything into a war zone context, which is
it's not quite that extreme.
To me, it is in that it's not even self-preservation as much as I compared it to this when I was talking to you about it, about the founding fathers and the idea that you go, some of the things they did were certainly morally difficult to do, but at the same time, they knew that on a conviction level, it was still the right thing to do, whether or not it was gray.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, at what point are you standing on? Again, we talked about this hollow platitude versus.
Again, at what point are you? I think that's.
It's like you can't lie to somebody. Well, then there's no such thing as a spy. I mean, that's like what?
At what point does your moral ideology? I just was peeking.
Just to be
I was seeing if there was anything there that would be of use to me. Because again, I think it's ultimately, this is the reason I don't like the word ethics, because ethics is what this is. It's moral ideology non-conforming with action. And you have to recognize, and I guess we may as well... again,
dissonance, I suppose.
Yeah, that dissonance is what makes, the show great, and also what makes it hard to...
You literally have to work through your own dissonance.
Well, exactly. You have to basically acknowledge... And we're going to have to get into examples to make it clear. So, for example, what I mean when I say the moral ideology not aligning with action is, for example,
Vi to be the hero.
Vi is the other obvious one, but I'm actually going to stick with Vander first.
Ooh.
Where you say, Vander is indisputably a noble character who wants the right things, and his moral ideology is by far the only persons in the show who you would watch and say, he's right.
In speech.
Yes. In even large swaths of deed. But there are particular moments, crucial moments, where you realize, okay...
That doesn't work.
Well, and here's the difference, though, with Vander, and I guess this is why he contrasts with Vi, is I would say to anyone, Vi's actions directly contradict her moral ideology.
Yes.
And that's what makes her fascinating to me. It's one of the reasons I did not like her very much. Past episode 3 for the obvious reasons.
Well, and I would agree.
Because some people still try to defend her. Not that she was right, but that
it's understandable.
Yeah, and that's understandable, and that her actions afterwards sort of make up for the fact that I would again disagree. But that, she is a character where action and thought are totally misaligned.
Yeah,
Vander's more in the way of he never contradicts his own moral ideology exactly, but it's more that this is hard.
He's defeating his own purpose.
Well, because the problem with him is he basically what he wants is for everyone to basically be safe. He wants the Undercity to be a safe place.
Well, but you can say that all day long, but it's all just again.
Exactly.
Talk
but he's also his strategy. If he wasn't dead before, he's dead now. Broke his neck against the floor. What he's doing, as much as it is, keeping people safe in the short term, it's not going to change anything in the long term. He has no future goal.
Right.
And so it's essentially, I'm not sure what you'd call that, because again, his moral ideology is.
It's called.
Well, because it's not. Again, he doesn't contradict himself, because what he wants is everyone to be safe, and for the most part, he's got that, but people are still suffering in safety. So I guess his is more the fact that his moral ideology doesn't survive contact with reality. You're going, he says all the right things, but his ideology doesn't fit.
He almost becomes ambivalent about.
Well,
it's close to.
I thought we could do this in an hour. We're going to have to take 2 hours to talk about this, because I'm not even halfway through.
Are we just going to sit around here talking about how good Arcane is?
Well, because I could get into a very Petersonian description of what I think of how I think he falls into an archetype that essentially is not. Again, it's because the archetype,
apathy. I would argue
it's not exactly apathy. It's more in the because he does care. The problem is he doesn't do what is necessary when he cares.
That's not
the same as apathy.
Apathy is not caring. It's
apathy is
acting.
yes. No, apathy is it's not being bothered.
No, it's
not just
comfortable.
Yeah, but I don't think he is comfortable. I think he wants things to change, but he doesn't quite realize that what he's doing isn't going to do it. Well, here's the point. Here's what I would say.
You think
he's very much...
I think he's very well aware that what he's doing isn't going to do it, and he just doesn't... move.
No, I don't think that. I don't think he fully realizes that. I think that's ultimately why he and Silco end up having their final confrontation.
That's interesting because I would disagree. I would say I think he goes, well, there's nothing else I can do, so this is just it.
Maybe
It's a resolution almost like.
The way he talks with everyone else is like there's other ways to solve our problems.
And then people ask, and he says
he doesn't have the solution.
Know.
Well, because ultimately the archetype that I would describe is it's very much okay. See who freaking saw that? Not a sausage. It's very what Jordan Peterson would describe as
that guy's coming out.
He saw it.
Yes, a sausage. Mine, in fact.
It's just you gave me what I needed. This might work if I can lure him out one at a time.
You gave me just what I needed.
This is perfect. I don't know why none of his friends did he not tell them like, hey, I saw something out there.
I'm going out to check it out.
Maybe he said that, but well, then I guess maybe they'll notice when he doesn't.
No one
come back.
cares about him. Apparently,
no one liked him. We're going frickin' finally. Can't stand that guy. But what Vander is ultimately is sort of the archetypal blind old king, he's good and he was benevolent and he cared about the people, but ultimately he was. I don't think he's willfully blind, and if anything, that makes him a little bit more tragic.
Disagree in that regard.
No, because there's willful blindness. This is why this came to mind is because he's very similar to. Oh boy. Okay, so there's people back here too. He's quite similar to Side note: if you've never seen Jordan Peterson's whole breakdown of The Lion King and why it's amazing, why it's in his opinion Disney's best film, which is not, only his opinion, but.
Well, he also talks about.
He talks about several, but
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, but they're saying. Yeah, you should listen to that because essentially he's very much on the same footing with Mufasa where he's going, Mufasa knows Scar's not trustworthy. But the problem is not that he's willfully blind, it's that he doesn't... In essence, his problem is that he's a little bit too benevolent where he knows Silco's out there, he knows what Silco's planning, but he doesn't
do anything about it.
Yeah,
again,
but that's not willful. It's in the sense that like Mufasa knows Scar's not to be trusted. He doesn't think he's as treacherous as he turns out to be. So it's more. That's why I think it's ultimately more tragic than it is. Because if it was willful, it would be comeuppance.
Tragedy thing.
If it was willful, I think it would be comeuppance for Vander to meet his end, and it isn't. We don't like it. Because I think it's more tragic in the sense you're going, he knew something was up, but he didn't know it was as bad as it was. I don't know how to lure more of them out at once. I suppose if I stick to the far side of the room, where none of the other cops can see me...
We've talked about the whole Hegelian concept because...
Well, we're going to get into it again, no doubt.
Because the reality is,
I need to attract some attention.
What bothers me and where I'd say I disagree with you about the whole...
You still maintain that he is willfully blind?
It's not... Willful makes it sound so much more harsh.
Well, but
he's...
But it is... You either are willfully blind or you're just blind. One is a moral stance, the other is more tragic again. Don't do that. I maintain if I'm not looking at a flash grenade when it goes off, it shouldn't do this.
You didn't see because he didn't wish to see. He's not really investigating it.
Well, true. You could argue that he should have, followed up. But then again, if you have that sort of sense, I'm gonna have to redo this. The sense of guilt of going, I tried to kill him. How do you come back from that?
That's precisely my point. Half of some of Silco's problems could have been solved by Vander just coming back and going, yeah, I was a tremendous anus.
Yeah, I guess.
Because again, that's where you go middle ground, because he swung to the opposite side, became this weird pacifist, and it's like, especially for Silco, that must have felt like, you hypocrite.
Well, that's ultimately why their final confrontation when he even says, I hated you, but I still respected you until you made deals with them.
Right.
When you did the underhanded, sneaky aspect.
That's why I say that's intent. That's 100% willful. That's not blind. That's just...
Well, but that's not the blindness I'm talking about. I'm talking about the blindness to the fact that his strategy isn't gonna work. And I don't think he's willfully blind about that, because I think he has... I think he was
settling 100%. I don't think it was that he ever thought that things would improve. I think
he was again. I think it was he was too. Well, it's definitely status quo, but I think it was sort of he had this. I think he had this hope that if we, keep things peaceful, we can always try and negotiate later. We can always try to if we build relationship,
just negotiate.
Yeah, it's like if we build, relationship and we make ourselves safe and it's a little bit, if we make ourselves non-threatening, then they may eventually come around to, listening to us. And he's wrong.
Status quo.
But I think I don't think that's I think he thinks that would happen.
But that's apathy. Status quo is 100% apathy.
But that's not status quo. That's because I think he ultimately wanted things to change, but he wasn't willing to do what was necessary to make it change.
I feel like you're seeing my point. You just don't like it.
No, because I don't think it was willful. I think he had this misguided thought that if they played safe long enough, they could build some kind
Misguided is maybe a better term for it.
Because willful blindness is him going, I'm going to pretend that things are okay when they're not. And I think he knows things aren't okay.
I suppose misguided helps me go, it wasn't just act... I suppose tragic makes it sound like it happened to him. Misguided
it did in a way, but it didn't.
Misguided is more like, okay, well, you made choices that were not great, but yes, it's tragic that didn't serve.
I suppose it is rather sad.
Right, that's kind of how I feel, I suppose.
Well, and again, so I guess he was a poor example ultimately because, well, he's an example of a different thing. Because I don't think his moral ideology was contradicted by his action. It was more that his moral ideology was contradicted by reality. And that's interesting because that's also the other part of it is you're going, there's characters who say the right things and don't do the right things. There's characters who believe the right things even when they're provably not gonna happen.
And how much of the right things we can
the
get into
hopeful,
this as well,
hopeful,
as far as the whole determinism thing. Because
I
know I'm stepping all over you.
No, it's more the fact that I was really thinking we'd do I thought we'd push it to 3 episodes. Because we have the time.
You should have known better.
I thought we could push it to 3 episodes, and the first one would be about this, and the second one would be about the next topic, and then the third one would just be catch up. Yeah, I was going to talk about condiments.
There's a part of it that is how much can you actually exact your own will over a situation. I mean, there's a part of it that is also that.
Well, and funnily enough, that's what sort of makes it tragic is that he tries to get Vi to do the same thing of going, you're not going to be able to solve everything by
fisticuffs.
And I think in a grander scheme, I think he was trying to say, you're not always going to be able to have the control over these circumstances, and ultimately, he's
wrong.
Yeah, well, but he's not wrong, but he's also not exactly applying it. I guess that's the one case in which you could say his deeds don't add up. I don't know. Why did I even get onto that topic though? Because that's what you were talking about discarding ethics, and I think the better term is to say you have to discard the moral ideology because ethics never goes away. You can never discard ethics. Because ethics is purely about action. It's about the difference in what people say and what they do.
Well, and when you take that into consideration, I had to go. Silco is representative less of an evil and more of a necessary
evil.
But it's not even an evil. It's necessary.
It's certainly not
loss.
good
It's
either.
a little bit of like the collateral damage is almost what Silco represents.
Because it's a heartless realism as opposed to Vander's overly benevolent optimism.
Yes. Which maybe that's why that character bothered me.
Vander?
It didn't initially bother me, but then as the show went on, I was like, because blind optimism drives me nuts.
I guess, I was just making the case that he's blind. Again, I would maintain that it's not willful, which makes it less
He can
annoying.
be tragic all he wants, but positivity, that makes me sound like a real cynic. Positivity sucks. No, I'm not saying that, but I think...
I need you guys to get out of here,
for the
please.
sake of, especially when it comes to an environment where Silco is wanting a better life for the future, for everyone, not just himself, their optimism doesn't help you much. It's like, but the sun's still out for us. It's like, but your life sucks. You need to admit that before you can actually do something about it.
I thought that guy
it's like, where's Vander's like, it's okay, we still have a bar.
Yeah, but I don't think he was that blind about it. I think he knew stuff wasn't right, but he was hoping it would change.
Sure.
Misguided, I think, is the better term. But why did I get off? Because again,
Well, I'm trying to.
we're still trying to get up on
thing.
yours because you were talking about discarding ethics, and
So,
I just wanted to maintain that I don't think
all
that's
that
the right
to say, we're gonna choke this guy.
We're discarding ethics right now. That dude's still here. He was in the room.
He just.
Why are you not grabbing him? I don't have enough energy. Does he not? Are you serious? Okay, so you're gonna. I didn't realize that those choke thingies took energy. All this time, I never knew that.
Choke the guy out, and then the other guy's like,
off with here. It's
okay.
Focus. Well, the fact that he took so long to react was humorous, but your opinion, because we've already delved too much into mine.
So I
don't know. Well, that means I'm also going to have to have presumably cut this before
end,
now, because we're halfway through the second episode.
Getting to the end of his.
You're still hedging a little bit, because I still don't think you quite. I think you agree with him as much as I do, but I don't think you necessarily like him as much as I liked him.
True.
On an interpersonal level.
100% true. Because here's the thing. His final moments help me realize he's a necessary dark side to tragic, like, especially within politics, because you have to bring politics into this situation.
Well, it's certainly an element. It's not. It's in the show.
It's a fairly main element, I would argue.
It's one of the 3 arcs.
And so I would say once you
4.
do that, you recognize that if not for Silco, there would be certain things that would not have come about. Period. Yeah. Because you just can't.
Well, people like to talk about like, so the lanes got worse under Silco, and it's like, no, really. On average, all that happened was they went from the one city
more organized.
It went from one city with a class divide of the rich and the poor, and it was built over in the Undercity, and then he did was he brought class divide to the Undercity, where you're going, okay, now there seemed to be. I made the comment in the first conversation where you're going, people talk about, there's drugs and it's all like there's the vice and it's, it's all drugs and pleasure and this sort of, it's all seedy. And it's like, well, but that only exists when people aren't scraping by. Mm-hmm. Like you can't afford drugs if you can't afford rent. And of course, I suppose the problem is oftentimes when people start to pay for drugs, they can't afford rent then either. But my point is, yes, it was seedy and it was lacking a sort of moral element, but clearly that shows that things did get better enough that this could become a problem.
Yeah. Like
people at least had money, they had the time for leisure. Yes, they were, it was lacking its, wholesome nature, and then, of course, the other problem is that does mean that there were new people at the bottom. That means there was...
But I would
instead of all of all of the Undercity being the bottom, there were people who were higher up in the Undercity and definitely people who sunk to the lowest because of...
Silco certainly stratified power.
Yes.
However...
But that meant, on average, the average had to bring everyone up with... Yeah.
Correct. He did it it was like a gradient curve, almost.
Basically.
But the reality is also that as I began to... reanalyze his arc after those final moments with Jinx and everybody. I'm going,
we haven't even gotten into Jinx yet.
To me, you can handle more of that whole situation because I'm
can have Jinx.
But
me and Victor will be fine without you.
No, but it helped me go, it's not the question is not whether he always did the right things. The question is whether he was an entirely malevolent character. And that I will say with confidence, no, not at all. And in fact...
I will make a contrary point
said this
even
to you,
later.
He was not ever... His intent was never to be... Here's what I really get down to. He's clearly not the villain because most of the time, villain context is, I want to rule indefinitely. Or ultimately,
and again,
supremely.
Some people may still argue that because he does talk an awful lot about power.
But he does. But he's
that is
saying,
part of his
but
character.
He's saying that very much on we as a collective need more.
I think
power.
that I don't disagree. I'm sure that other people might. I'm not sure what their arguments are. So
here's my argument to say for that. This is where I was going to make some.
There's a video. I could. I didn't expect him to do that. You will not see me in the vent. You do not. Can't take a barrel.
He didn't.
Darn it. He didn't. Can I pick up the bench? Suck it.
He You actually hit him in the head with it.
Wait, hang on.
Did he wake up and like he didn't know where you were at? That'd be interesting.
I don't think he's unconscious, but here's what's probably great is I think that commotion just got the other two dudes out of this room. Yo! Where am I heading? Oh, she's alarmed. I just hit a guy in the head with a barrel. Who's not? Oh, ah! I like how there were just no fancy tricks. Dang it. Oh, there were more.
My biggest argument for him being more of a political leader rather than a dictator indefinitely is because even outside of Jinx, because Jinx is an obvious thing, like where it's like, okay, well, yes, he listened to Jinx and he had interaction with her, but that's because he was very much a daughter-father relationship.
Far more personal.
But if you look at other members of his entourage, he definitely
listens to
engages.
Listens to Savika a lot.
Well, and for instance, with Savika.
But then again, he also he doesn't try to kill them, but makes pretty obvious that he doesn't stand in subordination.
It's a little mobstery, but at the same time,
that's the closest
comparison.
You have to keep the game going.
We're gonna usurp. He was like, here's the thing. I trust in loyalty, so if you're going to kill me, go for it. And obviously it didn't happen because...
Well, I maintain
that
the fact that he's genuinely... You can see he's genuinely freaked out at the end of that conversation.
Yeah.
So that's where you go, hey...
But he still stood on the loyalty, and it served him.
He knew it was entirely possible that Savika was going to kill him.
But you can't fake that kind of loyalty. That's the thing. It wasn't fear that she served him for. It was because she trusted him to a degree, and that's a little strong. But at the same time,
she's a little bit mercenary in the fact that even when she says, when he asks, like, "Were you tempted?" and her answer is not no, it's not for him.
But it's still
so it's a little, and she even says, "But he won't be the last." It's a little bit of a warning, going, "You do have to acknowledge this because other people." But that's where I go.
It's very mob mentality, which is like not like organized mob, not mob as in like.
Yes, I get it.
Psychological mob mentality, but
you can't. Okay, you have to. They're gonna see you. The problem is the window that's right behind you.
I was trying to do the sneak up thing, and I forgot how to do it.
Well, so yes.
So anyway, Silco.
There's a video you should watch that explains it better. I would not say not at all. I think he's probably an anti-villain, which is you don't get to see those often. Anti-heroes happen, but anti-villains don't much. And that's what's fascinating.
You want him to be the villain. He doesn't fit.
No, if anything.
That's what I would say.
I never wanted him to be the villain. I was pretty quickly
I wanted him to be the villain, and the reality is when you finally analyze all of the points of his character, especially after the last scene and then backwards, you go, he's not the villain. Sad, but it's true.
Here's where I think people are right in saying that the whole villain-hero concept breaks down in the show.
Right, it does.
He does, and that's, I suppose, if you want to discard ethics in that, I would again say that it's more moral ideology.
So welcome back to my sentiment.
But I'm saying it's more moral ideology because villain and hero are very black and white terms. Ethically speaking, and I think ethically speaking, he gets what he deserves ultimately because... I was gonna get into something else first, but this will make sense here. As you're going, discarding what people say, because undeniably what he says is much more dubious and villainous.
Sure.
But the point is, I mean, in crucial moments of action on a personal level, he actually makes the right decisions a lot of the time. I maybe don't even have to cap this guy. I'm just gonna go around here.
He talks loudly and carries a bigger stick.
That's not what my point was going to be in the slightest.
I'm joking.
But, on a personal level, I maintain there's a lot more gray. But even what his stated desires are, like the whole, but, I'm willing to sacrifice people for this cause. It's like, he might be justified, but that is still nonetheless very heartless, and it's hard to fully agree without some sense of, uncertainty. But... ultimately, if you break it down, again, this is what makes it, I think, a more ethical question than a moral ideological question, is you break it down by consequence. You say, who in the show has caused the most grief to others? And undeniably, he's on the top of that list. Oh, not the very top. I would actually say the other part of it is it's the Council of Piltover. The top side government, corrupt and oppressive,
right,
is one of the two villains, I guess, if you have to use that term. But they are the people responsible for the most suffering in the show. And then he, I think, would have to come second.
I'm good with that. Let's blame it on the aristocracy.
Well, it's like he, I think, then has to come second in that lineup, which is why, we've already spoiled, but the freaking, he turns around at the very last second. Literally. You could have just been like, that was the assistant, that was the orderly going up the stairs. How far are you going to follow me, pal? This is a long staircase. How much time you got? I got all day. I don't think he's coming. That's why ultimately the two people who, well, people, obviously the council's not a people, but like the groups, the entities that get their sort of just desserts, as it were, are the council and him, as in the people who die at the end of the show. Sure. Now, we obviously don't know who all of the council dies, because we have to assume
this is where
not all of them will, because several of them were too well established. I maintain all the others are probably dead. I think the only ones...
I do say it ended right, but it didn't end comfortably.
No, but it can't.
When Silco died, I was like, he's supposed to be the villain, but you still go, okay.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have died. Like, there's a part...
Well, but then that's where I would disagree, even, where I go, not and should and like... Again, it's not a hero-villain sense, but it should go... No, it doesn't,
because... It
didn't
feel like, he finally...
But it doesn't exactly feel good when the council does either. Partially, that's because there were people present who weren't technically part of the council.
You know what they nail in the show is what we talked about in the previous episodes about Sonder. It is.
Okay.
They really nail the idea
except
that
they don't at all, because
lives.
Except for the fact that I couldn't give two craps for any of the other council members except for Jace and Mel, because they're the only ones we see. So literally, the characters who don't get development, I don't care about.
My point is, they developed them enough to give them enough context for you to go, well, that kind of sucks.
I don't think
that they lost their lives,
I don't. Again, I meant I don't believe the people who I have high confidence are going to survive are at the very least Jason Victor, very least. Mel probably will survive because they gave her a lot more backstory. The others, I don't think have enough backstory to save them.
I'm not confident that Victor will survive.
I am, for reasons that are non-diegetic.
Okay.
I didn't realize that he is a character that persists.
Oh. Okay.
So, plus, they give each of those three characters a possibility. Like, it makes sense how they could.
Sure.
Because he's got whatever weird hex nonsense is going on literally in his body.
Yeah.
Jace obviously has the hex tech in the form of the hammer, which has the thing, which I don't believe he had in the meeting, but we can give him some ground, and then they clearly draw attention to some weird magical thing going on with Mel, which no one knows what that's about. But clearly something's up there. So
what we find out is that Mel's been magic the whole time. We just didn't know it.
Well, that's entirely possible. We don't. It's unclear what's going to happen exactly. Do I have something to give me some juice? Because Cyber Boost Energy Pack. Can I use this?
Anyway, those are my thoughts.
Oh, great! Because I needed. Okay, so now.
Great, you're finally done.
No, I'm saying great because I didn't realize that this attack took energy, which is why I couldn't hit this other guy. And he didn't even get up that time. But either way, so I had to take that thing so I could take both of them out. I didn't realize that that was an energy-based thing. So, anyways, so that's why I think they could survive. And then I did learn that Jace and Victor are actually characters in the game.
All that,
which I didn't know.
With the sisters, I don't know that I have much to say other than
will.
After episode 3, I didn't like Vi. That much was true.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit of getting used to Jinx because of the fact that it was very much. I felt like I actually liked Powder less than
Jinx. You're supposed to.
Sure,
I think.
But it definitely took me a while to go. Oh, this is a completely different character now, basically.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, that's the whole name change concept. But, so, I mean, I don't have much to say about that whole relationship, other than I think that Vi does a very poor job at...
Well, she's the character, when I say, people whose statements and deeds don't add up, she's number one. She is, like, the one character who whose actions and deeds are
Right,
absolutely
exactly.
out of sync. To such a degree that I maintain she becomes, in my opinion, frickety-doo.
Snickety-doo.
Dang it. Can I get up on top of this?
Dang it.
Let me over. Let me over.
Just use the locker. Use it.
I think there's only one of them. Whoo, there's only one. Thank goodness. Okay, so there's a can. But, okay.
So,
Sewer.
Adam's kind of looking a little vampire-y.
It's the augments. Okay, so where do I need to be?
He's like, I feel like he should be in
I
like,
think I need to be through this door.
I don't know. He's like,
No, I don't. Okay, I don't need to go through that door because there's cameras there. Good. I'm going to wait till the alarm goes away. Yeah, I maintain that by the end, she's actually about as equal on moral footing as Silco is.
Yeah, 100%.
Because again, he starts out with dubious intent. I say dubious because I agree that it's justified, but there are also, it's like he's certainly
But then
willing.
he doesn't actually act.
And then, but in very
necessarily
crucial
on it.
moments, and these are again the personal moments, and this is why I like their relationship more than them individually, is in the crucial moments, he makes the right calls on these interpersonal levels.
Right.
And in the crucial moments, despite the fact that Vi wants and says the right things, and I don't even think that it's like a lie. I think she genuinely thinks she wants these things, but when push comes to shove, she can't do it. She doesn't make the right calls in the most crucial moments, and he does. And that's fascinating to me. Okay, why?
It also fits
There's
normal
more.
life.
Well, because you
a
can...
great many people
yeah.
want to talk a big game, but then they don't do.
Come on, pal. You don't need to get involved here. I like the simple just knockout punch. That's the funniest to me. Like all of the weird kung fu, it's just like, but the simple just like stone cold, ooh, shotgun, fun times. When's the alarm going to go away is the question. Because I don't want to get interrupted in the morgue. I don't know. So that, I think, is where I would say that by the end, she's very much...
Your necromancy to
How do I-
bother people.
Oh, no.
This guy's trying to bring somebody else back into the augment.
9, 2... How do I press? Okay, 9, 2, 1, 2.
Just push him into the... What did I call it before? The cybernetic womb.
Well,
Just
okay.
pushing a dead body into the cybernetic womb. You're
I don't have enough energy. I gotta wait. Hang on, pal. I'm getting my suit back up.
He's a little weeby, though. Leave him be.
No, because I have to...
poor
I gotta
weeb.
do something here. I didn't realize he was even in here.
He's a weeb. Don't kill him.
I'm not gonna
Look
kill
at
him. I'm
him.
just gonna knock him out. The fact that he isn't saying anything to me is kind of weird. Why is my suit energy not coming back?
Because he's a weeb and they don't want you to kill him.
I'm not going to. My suit energy is necessary just to knock him out.
They don't want you to harm him at all.
Well, I've harmed police officers. He's the coroner.
He's not even. He's...
Why is my
Look
suit
at those
taking this
boots.
stinking long? Those are very
What is he
effeminate.
wearing? Yeah, I was about to
Let's
say.
go into the disco later. Can I get more juice?
Well, you can tell by the way. I don't know.
Okay, I thought the energy came back.
Oh, he's just like, yeah, whatever. You're
Oh,
here.
wait. So he doesn't necessarily think I'm a threat.
Well, that's
Because I didn't knock him out. He's just like, oh yeah, the alarm.
almost like what I was saying was valid.
The alarm. Oh, I'm supposed to talk to him.
About time. I thought you were going to kill me or knock me out or something.
I didn't realize. I
Good
had
thing
to
you had a
talk-
partner.
I didn't realize I couldn't. I had to talk to him.
So I am the
The impulse control, like we said.
I'm Victor through and through.
Anyway, so
Just put the knife down.
that's what I maintain is why they're fascinating as a because and then I think ultimately what matters is
Freeze, mister. Big.
what are you're driving this
Sorry,
a bit
go
too
ahead.
far.
Sorry.
You need to learn to let them lie when the joke's told. I'm not even paying attention to this conversation. What I think is significant, I already said the significant thing about there being brain chip. Taking that, just yanked it out. He doesn't need that. Rip that out of there. So I'm gonna go out probably through the sewers, except that there's a security camera here. Oh, let's looking the other way. Except, oh, hang on. Oh, how convenient that they have a defective laser right at the bottom where I can crouch. Oh, really? I didn't expect it to last that long. I thought it was going to come right back. Oh, there are bigger gaps. Is it every third time? Good. I just think that that's interesting. Because, again, people say, oh, Vi's got... Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Really?
It's the same code?
No. It's not going to be the same code for the morgue. You dumb thing. People try to defend her as saying, like, well, she also went through the same kind of trauma, so her lashing out, as much as it's not, like, justified, it makes sense. Granted, whatever.
It doesn't really.
It does, because essentially her whole character arc, even after the time skip, is swing first, questions later. So the fact that you'd go, in this moment of high panic and stress, you'd lash out, I can grasp that.
I suppose she literally, within the moment, almost went back.
Yeah, and she realizes right away that she's screwed up.
Yeah. And
then has to walk away. I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt and suggest that it was likely due to the fact that she knew she screwed up and needed to back away before she made things worse. And then she did try to go back. So it's like people try to say, yes, but after she's out of prison, she goes straight forward. So it's like she clearly cares. Granted, I accept all of these things. Where things go wrong is she literally said, she says to her in their meeting, I'm never going to leave you again. And then, yes, she gets kidnapped, so it's not exactly her choice. But she spends an awful lot of time with them. You'd think that she'd be like, hey, I was just in the middle of being reunited with her. Can you freaking take me back? Like, that was kind of an important moment that wasn't finished. So,
not only that, but
okay.
she lets herself get caught up in this whole...
Yeah, she's
Piltover nonsense.
Well,
and it's like,
yeah.
okay.
And then...
But see, that's, again, I would argue that's Vander's influence.
Possibly. I don't think she quite takes the lessons that she was supposed to heart.
Well, she may not have taken them the way that she's supposed to, but what child does?
Well,
therein lies a whole nother psychology.
I suppose. But, okay, well, if you're going my way, pal, I'm just going to have to knock you out. You should have gone the other way.
If you're going my way...
You're not going to like it. What? What? Who saw that? I'm not. You.
Oh.
I was almost around the corner. You've got to be joking me. Well, I saved close to the end. You're going to have to talk to the coroner again, though. You rip out the man's brain chip. I think it's crucial, though, that literally she's on the bridge as they're walking back. I think this is episode 7. Yes, it's episode 7. She's on the bridge, leaves the group to say, hey, I have to go back and find her again. It's like, about time you thought this. And then, like 10 minutes later, not even, Jinx shows up, she leaves. And I think it's crucial that they have this cinematic moment where, like, Jinx is kind of irked that she's there. Like, she doesn't expect her there. And it literally is like, okay. Like, again, it's the moment of, like, you want to take a thought to your actions and realize how they're not adding up. And then, so they have, like, this. And then even as she's walking away, like, trying to help Caitlin, it's like, what are you doing? The horror on his face. He's horrified at what you just did.
He's upset.
I'm a little teapot, short and stout.
Is he?
Yes, he's terrified of the fact that you just molested a corpse.
I shook his hand. Goodness sakes. I didn't go touching him in any
Molesting
places.
has more meaning than one. Anyways, I think that the fact that they then show, like, they make eye contact as she's leaving with Caitlin, and Jinx is essentially, her facial expression is basically, yeah, good riddance, like, you've made your choice.
Why are you being a...
He's being way more dramatic this time.
I was the one that saved your life.
Just okay, well, freaking leave him alone so he can put his mind back together.
No, I'm not going to. He's a...
Rip the piece, rip whatever's out of his head.
Did.
Wait, did you? You still need to talk to him, I think.
It wasn't letting me in.
Hold, press search. Did we already yank it?
Yeah, well, because it said...
Okay, so we must have yanked it. Do we need to... maybe it might have auto-saved after we talked to him. It probably did. You're going to have to go through the vent because that'll set off the alarm. I don't know whose alarm now. Vent's in the other room. Side room. The other one. No, that one. So that, I think, is important that you go... Again, that's where what she says she wants is not what she does. And then I think episode specifically episode 9, episode 8 a little bit. It was in the other office. There's one room that one. Where she basically goes behind the council's back to get Jace and basically sort of coerces him because he's a bit stupid into like, hey, we should do an unsanctioned illegal attack on his factory. And I'm going to exploit the fact that you're angry to convince you to do this. And then...
Which is called manipulation.
Yeah. That's, okay, let him go. Leave her, Johnny. Okay, I think they're gone. Go up. Before they turn around.
Like up the stairs?
The stairs, yeah. So you're not going to be able to attack the guy at the top of the stairs because the whole room will know about it when you do that. So...
What should I do?
I don't know is the problem because we need to get to the other side of the vent. Just wait and see if maybe he like turns around or moves. He's coming back. Crouch and maybe he'll go away. So then they attack the factory. She gets a kid killed inadvertently. Which she then... So that's like, okay, episode 8, you're like, wow, this was a mistake. Episode 9, Jace has the appropriate reaction, which is like, holy crap, we did messed up, son. He's rightfully horrified. Why on earth would you not look around the corner? What?
I stood there for quite some time.
I told you to look, though. I didn't tell you to stand. Give me that. You literally were like, 10 seconds is the 10-second rule, right? He's not... gonna still be there. That was ridiculous. Anyways, and after he's like, holy crap, we killed a kid, I'm like traumatized, and she's literally basically says he had it coming. Not as many words.
Well, yeah.
And that's the point at which I was like, oh, you're like totally not on the moral high ground anymore. Your deeds and actions are so far out of sync that, again, she's basically exactly just Silco in reverse. She's willing to say, hey, I need to take him down because he's ruined the city and he's corrupted my sister, and therefore whatever it takes is worth the cost, which is precisely what people have against Silco. It's that he's got a justified reason to be angry.
And arguably,
so does she.
Silco has more of a...
They both have justification.
Altruistic
well, sure.
in that he's
but then again, you could argue Vi does as well. I'd say
hers is far more personal.
It's sure, but I think it's ultimately still of equal... They both have justifications for their desires, but they're also both willing to do, questionable things to do them.
is far more noble, though. Even though
you could argue hers is in an interpersonal sense. That you'd be reasonably, But my point is, they both have equal justification, and they're both willing to do questionable things to bring about those aims. Therefore, they are on equal moral footing. Which is why the ending, if it offends some people, they're like, I'm mad that basically Jinx chose Silco over Vi. It's like, well, they're both on the same moral ground. So who's she going to go with? Naturally, it's going to be the person who accepts her for who she is. And that's the one thing Vi never did.
Right.
Even after she comes back, she never once, she apologizes in that she says sorry, if that counts as an apology. I don't think it does. She never once says, holy crap, I screwed up hardcore. Please forgive me. She never asks for forgiveness, I'd like to point out. She says sorry.
Important.
Yeah, she never says, please forgive me, I'm so sorry.
Sign of sociopathy.
I'm not going to go that far. But it's like, that I think is significant, because what? I'm crouching. How do you see me? Get out. I'm going through the vents, and no one's gonna stop me today.
What is that action button again? It's not.
It's B. Wow, that was a crack shot too. You got me in the skull.
Oh, good shot, Green.
It's taken literally 2 hours, so I have to wrap this up.
All right, go ahead. Finish your now.
I haven't even talked about Jinx. Well, these are all my thoughts. They transition nicely. So basically, yeah, I was very much more a fan of Silco from the beginning.
But you talked about Silco and Jinx as a
not a duo because her in the sense that but here's what's interesting is that you got the scenes that made you emotional were the Victor scenes. The scenes that made me emotional were, again, neither of them individually. It was their scenes together. And that was sort of what, again, surprised me because I'm like, I don't exactly share any real background with these characters. Like, I was not abandoned as a child. I have not accidentally killed most of my family. So it's like, why do I don't know. And I had to sort of do the same kind of questioning of like, why is it that I resonate so strongly with this? And again, why is it both of them as opposed to one of them more than the other? Because it really isn't one more than the other. It's both of them pretty equally. So ultimately, and so that when I said at the beginning, I was saying it vaguely, that's the locked door, you can't get through there. I was saying vaguely that's like, who do I most sort of resonate with? It's like, well, I resonate, but with both of them, but of course Silco's dead by the end. So I was like, naturally, if I side with Jinx more than anyone else, is she going to be happy that this is the way things ended? Of course not. Yeah. So how can I expect that I'm going to be happy if I'm looking at it from her perspective?
Right.
Which is sort of what made me come to grips with the fact that I'm like, as much as I don't like it personally, I can't deny that it's masterfully written. Because again, no other alternatives would have felt like in a why? How are you alarmed in a vent? I don't get how this seems to happen sometimes arbitrarily. Bad grab? What does that mean? The barrel. That was the bad grab. I don't know. You go. What do you
roll out in front of me and then just bam?
I don't think anyone's coming down the stairs yet. I think it's just that the camera. Well, don't go stepping into it. Okay, they are coming. Throw it! You missed.
Oh, come on.
Why are you crouching up to him? You're going to shoot him right in the junk. Who would have thought extraction was the hardest part of the mission?
Well,
I'm pretty sure
that's a fairly normal
fairly all the special ops people are going, no, that's definitely the hardest part of the mission. Anyways, I was going to wrap it up in a nice little bow.
Extraction.
No, that's where she's going. Like, if you asked me at the final scene, what I would have said is, I want Jinx to tell Vi to stuff it, basically, because I was a little bit vindictive by the end. And I want her and Silco, I want her to pick Silco and basically, and I sort of, in a way, I was like, I kind of wanted it to be I wanted there to be a moment of Vi being like, wow, for her to get her.
I misunderstood.
Like, I get it. I understand now that I'm wrong and And she doesn't exactly get that. I imagine that's going to come in season 2.
So that's interesting.
Based directly on the effects of that conversation, she's going to be like, holy crap, I guess it was me. I just wanted that to happen in the scene.
So for you, it's interesting because.
But I also recognize that had that happened, I wouldn't.
Intellectual comeuppance, less than.
A little. Sure. It's more that I go, the characters that always bother me are the ones who are morally uptight. That think they're right and are not. No, because pious isn't a bad thing. You can be genuinely pious. It's the arrogance of
piety. I don't know that.
Well, it's a bit of a moral. Pious is used religiously. It's a good thing generally. A pious person is usually like a holy person.
Yeah, but anytime I've heard it,
never heard it
been
negatively.
Very much like you're trying to be holy, but you're not.
No, that's puritanical, perhaps.
Maybe.
But it's more to me it's kind of a high horse mentality,
right.
And Vi is very much a high horser.
Someone ought to yank him off his high horse. Teach him a thing or two.
Well, yeah. So that's why I don't like those kinds of characters. So ultimately, I was like, I want her to eat it. But then I think about it's like, okay, well, what if
So is that the underdog kind of a side?
No, it's definitely because it's not an underdog thing. It's more of the fact of going, you're not as good as you think you are.
Huh.
That's basically what it comes down to. So who the frick sees me when I am crouching through the hallway? How do they freaking see me? How could they see me? I am crouching.
Is there some sort of mirror?
There shouldn't freaking be. Get out of here. I'm going to punch you right in the junk. So somehow they see you when you walk down a hallway, crouching. The windows are clearly not to the floor.
Alright, well, I'm going to play
I'm still trying to wrap up because I keep trying to get through this. But the point is, if I think about like, oh yes, she basically picks Silco, says Vi could suck it. Caitlyn could have died for all I would have cared. Not that I think that needed to happen, but like,
what she needs to do is cap Caitlyn and then be like, suck on that, Vi.
I wouldn't have really cared. Well, I wouldn't have been happy about that exactly. But like, had that happened, I'd have been like, I mostly just wanted her and Silco to have their moment for where she's like, yeah. And then for Vi to be like, oh, I'm the bad guy here. But I also recognize that wouldn't really have been good. It would have been very fan servicey.
Right.
It's like
It's
it would have
obvious.
been like not even obvious. It's sort of like
So what do you want me to do?
it would have felt thin. It would have felt like what I wanted on the surface, but not what I wanted really. Not what would have been a satisfying ending. Why on earth would you stepped away from the door every time it opened? You're doing the wrong way again. Going up the stairs. We need to up our hacking skill because that has been our greatest dead end in all these. Is like, oh, we found a way. Oh, can't hack it. Found a computer. Can't hack it.
No pun intended.
Like, because we could have gone through the sewers and gotten out of here. We would have been done with the mission if we could just hack that stupid door. So, anyways, I resonated with them. I think the show is masterful.
The score itself is great.
Everything about it's great. There's literally, where you're going, the music is phenomenal, the acting and the writing and the animation.
Come on down here, pal.
No one's coming. No one's alarmed because for some reason when I do it, no one gets alarmed. And I'm not being facetious. I genuinely don't know why. Okay, if you someone's gonna get alarmed if you throw the barrel at them. So this should not be the strategy.
Oh, I just left
I think it touched the stairs and sort of touched the ground. Yeah, it's expertly written. It's subtle in ways literally nothing else has been. Hang on, there's probably... he's coming back. He saw you! He probably won't follow you all the way back down, but that's just going to waste time. I don't know. So, we don't exactly align in that. I like Silco as a character. Like, as a person, I'm like, I find you fascinating.
I personally resonated with him. I just get him now, and that he's not.
Well, and I
quite
think
as
I can't help
cut
it.
and dry as
I
people.
feel like I would have a hard time understanding anyone who didn't. Even if there are people who still maintain that, like, no, even though he has this soft spot for her, he's still ultimately a villain. And I don't like. Sure, I can sort of understand that, but I can't imagine anyone who's like, nope, nothing about the ending changed my perspective on him. Right. He was lying till the end. I'm like, I can't believe that.
No.
And I don't think anyone really can unless they're dead set against him with a vendetta. So anyways, 2 hours. I would literally twice what I thought it would take. So, well...
I don't understand.
That was just funny because I'm imagining that he didn't. I'm imagining he didn't even move. Like then again, that was probably the smart thing to do.
Duck, goose.
Instead of that was probably the smart perspective. Was like, hey, I saw someone go down the stairs. I'll just wait until they come back up. There's nowhere for them to go from down there. Okay, hang on. Yeah. Well, now, which way does he go? Does he go off to the side or does he?
Yeah,
he goes back down the. Well, there's
people
in that room. There's people in that room with glass. See, he's gonna watch you do that.
No, they won't. They'll just.
You just have to get to the vent before they do. No, through the vent, you. What?
Where's the vent?
You've just presented yourself to your pursuers.
And yet.
Well, hang on.
I stayed.
Well, you made
safe?
it. Well, you made it through the vent. The problem is they're probably going to come into the bathroom because they might know where that vent leads. Well, they're certainly shooting through the vent. Let them drain their ammo, I guess. We're closer than we have been before. Aye. We didn't even get into we didn't touch on the stuff we talked about that other time. We should have recorded that conversation. Well, we used the show as a framework for discussing. Well, because I think they know you're not there. They know you're here, but they know that they're usually hostile means they see you and are in.
Close this?
Well, yeah, probably. But I would say they're gonna investigate, so you'd want to get out of there sooner because they can still see through the other side. Because alarm just means they know you're around and are looking for you. Hostile means that they're like actively attacking you. I mean, you can close it, but they know that that's where you... What? That's why I would have said just stay away from it. Now, okay, so literally all you have to do...
Can I save? Should I save?
Well, save... Don't save it. Save 2 because we don't want to overwrite the previous one. Because we're not in a great saving position because things could certainly still go south from here. Yeah. Did I say? Yeah, because we used it as a way to jump off into a philosophical discussion based on the show rather than just about the show. It was, we talked about the whole determinism
Yeah,
versus
which-
Kantian. Close the freaking door, because that's a miracle that he didn't see you. Close the door. Close the door. Get in the stall.
I'm just gonna beat his...
He's going to turn around. There's cops everywhere. You can't just fight your way out of this. Once things go wrong, you still have to be stealthy. Okay.
I can't... It's not...
So, go to the map again, because the problem is I forget how we even got in here. And something tells me it's
why
not...
on earth is this...
Go to the map! We're in the middle of... You're going to question advertising when we're in the middle of a shootout? Okay. Map is the circle on the top, the big one. So, we came out... Where did we come from? Go to the... what is it? Tab goes up a level? That's zoom? Okay. No, wait. How do you go up a level? D-pad, okay. Go to the back... I think it was the back of this hallway. No, up one. The one we were at. Go to the back of the hallway on the other side of the building. No, it was up one. Okay, so it was the top floor. We came in through a vent somewhere on the top floor. Did we go through the stairs? I think we came through that... Hang on, go back up. That room, that little hanging bit off the edge, I think that's where we came in. So we're going to have to get all the way back up to the second floor. Or to the third floor? Top floor, whatever it is.
Okay, so we're...
Basically, all you have to do is get from the bathroom that you're in to the staircase. And I mean, at that point, you could almost just sprint. The question is, how many guys are going to be in your way? And the answer is probably a lot.
Well, what... So
I mean,
going
you
straight
could
out the door to the
You
left.
could literally just go straight out to the lobby, but the problem is there's a guard there, and they know that you're in the vicinity. So if you flee, they'll probably attack you. But you might get out the door before then.
Do you want to try it?
Well, we saved. I mean, we can just see what happens. You're going to want to not crouch while you're doing it, though. If this doesn't work, we'll call it quits.
Okay.
You have to commit at least. You have to open the door.
Let's try the stairs.
Okay.
Well, this
then.
works.
Well, as long as we don't run into more people is the problem. Up 11 level. Okay, so they were checking every staircase. Okay, well, Arcane's really, really good. If the past 3 weeks and the last 2 hours haven't convinced you of that yet, nothing will, I don't think. I mean, unless you watch it yourself, which you should. It's 9 episodes, like barely over 6-7 hours.
Watch past the first 3.
Well, no, I would even say watch the first 3, because if you're not hooked by the end of 3, you won't be ever again.
That's true.
So watch the first 3. It's not even 3 hours. It's like 2.5 hours of your time. Absolutely worth it. We'll try not to be pincushioned in the next episode. Probably want to actually stop it, because I don't want to actually have to handle a 3-hour file. That's probably going to break my thumb drive. End. E.